Welcome and step into the minds of addiction and recovery. Hello, I'm your host, Brett C. It is an honor to bring into light one of the darkest aspects of our society, addiction. With 20 years of active addiction and 20 years of sobriety, I hope to bring together all listeners on a journey of inspiration and education. With my co-hosts Jared F. and Rich J., we will be sharing our experience, strength, and hope for all listeners to enjoy and have fun with. Now, F3 Recovery brings you the Super Sober Podcast. All right, welcome to the 24th episode of the Super Sober Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I know it's been a minute, but a Happy New Year, Merry Late Christmas, and all that stuff. And we got another special guest, as always, on the Super Sober Podcast. We're on it. It's into 2025 right in here in January. We're going to be having a lot of fun. We took a couple steps back so we can get a good running jump and leap forward. Just want to let you know, I'm your host. My name is Brett C. I'm an RN with a BSN. Been working in recovery for a decade now, helping people with this unbelievable, convoluted, crazy disease addiction. And guess who's back? It's been since episode 16. We'll go to our left and introduce Rich.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name's Rich. I got a clean date of October 5th, 2013. Currently working as an RN in an emergency room. I also teach boxing at a treatment center on Sundays, a little boxing fitness class. And then for the last 10 years before that, I've been working in treatment centers.
And we'll introduce our guest here, Johnnie F. Go ahead.
And I'm Johnnie F., and my sobriety date is 4/4/89. And I've been working in the field of recovery treatment for the last 31 years.
Man, 31 years. Let's go. Been trying to get Johnnie F on here for a while. He's so busy running around town, flying across the country, doing his own comedy shows and all that stuff. But our schedules finally went in. And I don't know if I did my sobriety date. Did I do my sobriety date,
I don't
Solomon?
think so.
Oh, no, but you can do it again.
All right, well, let's go. It's 4/21/03. Just shot it out right there. It's been a little bit rusty here in the studio, but here we go. We're going to do what we've been doing for the last podcast lately. We're going to do some shout outs on some unbelievable sobriety dates, right? We got Kevin F. Took 8 years. We're going to go ahead and maybe find ourselves some applause there, Solomon, maybe. We got Ben F. with 1 year.
All right.
Unbelievable. We got Danny A. with 6 years. Angela F., our homegirl, with 6 years. Yeah, we got Big Vince C. with 21 years. 6 months ahead of you, bro. All right, we got Ashley R. with 8 years. Unbelievable stuff going out there. Yeah, she moved out there to Vegas. Shout out to Ashley and all my brothers and sisters out there. Unbelievable sobriety coming in right there at the end of the year. They say you got to wait for the Bermuda Triangle to pass before people get sober, but some people are just doing it right there during the Christmas, right in the middle, in between New Year's and on to the new year. And I just wanted to give a little couple minutes really quick here to go over Rich J's. I mean, if you've seen the first 16 episodes and stuff, we were chronicling his ascent into the medical field and becoming an RN, being an addict. And if you didn't see episode 11, it was 3 of us nurses who had all been descended into the depths of addiction and became registered nurses through practicing the 12 steps and remaining accountable change. I just wanted to do a couple minutes. And how's it been now that you're a fully employed registered nurse, past the NCLEX, all of that stuff?
Congratulations, by
thank
the
you,
way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think the last time I was on here, I had just graduated, or maybe I had just finished the NCLEX, but I wasn't working yet. So since the last one, I've actually been working in an emergency room, and it's been a hell of a time. I'll tell you that. I got a new perspective on addiction, and you would think that I had previously had all the perspectives I needed on addiction, but working in an ER, you really, one of the things that's been the most surprising to me is seeing the high cost of low living. You know, I'd say at any given moment, 60 to 70% of the patients in an ER are there as a direct result of using drugs or alcohol, or as a secondary result, kidney failure, heart disease, liver disease, infectious disease, lung disease from smoking. So when I'm working in an ER and I'm working side by side all these nurses that don't have the same perspective that I do, and I truly believe that they don't connect the dots in the same way that I do. But I'm looking at my patient, and I'm looking at the cause of why they're there, right? Like I'm not just looking at treating the symptoms, but it's been very, very, very surprising. Just like, damn, if we could figure out a way to get a handle on this disease,
Ooh.
I mean, what that would do to our medical system, how much that would free up the strain that's on our medical system would be unbelievable. It would be incredible, and the health of the people, the health of the population, man. Like we are a sick society, and the root of it is addiction. Period. And that's not to say that people don't come in with other things not related to addiction, but it's rare. It's rare. So the high cost of low living, man. And I'm some days I feel like I'm not in the right place because it's hard. It's hard working in an ER. But when I have somebody come in and I'm able to share a little bit of my story with them, or even if it's just quick, letting them know that I'm in recovery too and that they can do it. That's when I feel like I'm in the right place, or when I'm able to help somebody in a way, or I'm able to catch something that maybe a doctor wasn't able to catch, or maybe another nurse wasn't able to catch because of my perspective of being an addict and now being in recovery, and working in treatment and understanding what we're going to see with withdrawals and catching things early, and coming from that perspective. Those are the times that I totally feel like I'm in the right place, and my higher power has me exactly where my higher power wants me, and feels good. And
That's amazing.
Yeah. I don't know where I go from here, but I'm just trying to stay open-minded and not throw in the towel. When I have hard days, and but it's working in an ER is I always tell everybody, if I could just boil it down to a few simple words, it's high highs and low lows. And but addicts, we like that shit, man. We like the high highs and the low lows, man. We like the extremes, and so some days I love it and some days I don't. But it's the yin and the yang, right?
Yep. Welcome to the medical field, my brother, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And we're going to get into it right here. We got Johnnie F right here, and we could talk about all that stuff we were just talking about, into the ER and how deadly this disease
I think we should
is
do a
and
whole
all that
episode
stuff.
on that.
Yeah, we can do so many different episodes. We're going to get back to education here on the Super Sober podcast, because we know it's a journey of education and inspiration. And we're going to get to the inspiration part right now. So, Johnnie, I've been going to meetings with Johnnie for a while. If you're anything in recovery here in Orange County, California, or the surrounding areas, LA County and all that stuff, you probably maybe have been in a meeting with Johnnie F. And if you know anything about fun in recovery, because I'm already laughing, right? That's a moniker of his sharing and stuff. And he'll go around and he'll get comedians or upcoming comedians, or he knows all types of them. And then he'll do free shows at the sobriety clubs, introducing people to fun in recovery and everything. So without further ado, it's my bro Johnnie F right here. And we're going to go over experience, strength, and hope. So go ahead and introduce yourself and let's have some fun.
Okay, I'm Johnnie, and good to be here.
Yeah, that's
Good to
right.
have you.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to coming and doing your podcast. Let's see, I got sober in April the 4th of 1989, and just to kind of condense it,
Yeah, good luck with that. 31 years of recovery and how many years in your addiction, but we're gonna attempt it.
I came to California in '82, and I'm from Detroit, Michigan, which is where I first started comedy back in the early '80s. But anyway, so I came to California, and I thought I was getting away. I was leaving the past back in Detroit.
Yeah,
and,
the geographic.
Yeah, exactly. And came out here, and I thought it would be different. I'm a different state, and And actually, it was different. It was worse. And
Welcome to the California show.
yeah. And so basically, in a nutshell, from 82 to 89, my addiction took off. And so did my career in and out of the penal system.
Yeah.
But I like to share that I'm first generation crack smoker.
Yep.
I was here from the start and had no idea what I was in for. And so for the next 7 years, between 82 and 89, I was just in full flight from reality, in and out of jail.
And you moved from Detroit, right?
Yeah.
To which city in California down here in SoCal?
I initially moved to Hollywood, which
Okay.
was where my brother was living.
Okay.
And I lived with him, I think maybe about a month. And then he kicked me out. And my younger
He thought
brother.
that was a bad
And,
idea.
Then I moved to my aunt's, and she lived in the Echo Park area of Los Angeles, which coincidentally just happened to be right down the street from MacArthur Park.
No, super famous. stuff
Notorious,
there, yeah.
notorious MacArthur Park, Rampart. But yeah, and that's where things took off, and kind of really got to experimenting with drugs, and it was downhill for the next 7 years. And I got sober. But let me just slightly just back up for a minute. So,
Sure.
like I said, between those 7 years, it was L.A. County jail, etc. Then it was in, I think, '85. I caught the chain, and I did the prison circuit for a while, and off and on, and in the end, I ended up on Skid Row, and was down there for probably off and on for 3 years. And around about March of '89 was when I had my moment of clarity, because my biological birthday was coming up the next month in April. And
So at that time, you had done at least 3 years in prison, back and forth. Chino,
close to
and
it.
then going upstate and doing all that.
Close to it, probably about
Okay.
maybe 2.5.
Okay.
But between, like I said, between prison and jail, that probably totaled 3+.
Okay.
And yeah, ended up like I say on Skid Row, and April the 4th of actually it was April the 3rd. I went and got a free bus ride to County General, and stayed there overnight, and the next day I got a ride back to Skid Row, and got dropped off at the Wine Guard, which is still on 6th and San Pedro, downtown LA right now, still helping people who want to get sober.
That's a
And
place called the Wine Garden.
The
where
Wine
you can
Guard
get extra
Center.
resources and stuff like that. I don't
Oh,
think I've
yeah.
heard of it. Okay.
Yeah, I will.
Was County General a hospital? Or what?
USC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the County General is the what do you call it? The not homeless, but the
Is it the community center or
well, no,
the
it's
shelter?
a hospital, but
Oh, it is.
It's the hospital where it's the 24-hour hospital
Mhm.
where you go in with whatever the case may be. You could be stab wounds or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
and it's still
It's a
gonna-
full trauma center and
Yeah,
everything. Every
yeah.
one stop you had.
Yeah.
USC. Yeah.
but it's gonna take you 24 hours.
Yeah, because it's
Before you
clogged
see a
and plugged
doctor,
in.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's what County General,
Okay.
which means you don't have insurance.
Oh yeah,
You
so it's
probably-
full. It's
right.
full.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
I got you.
goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was in there. Not in there, but stayed there overnight. And next day I got dropped back off, and went into the Wine Guard on April the 5th. Yeah, went into the wine garden April the 5th of 1989. And detoxed there for 6 days. And
And you were mainly coming off of crack and alcohol? Those are your two main drugs of choices?
in the end, it was just straight pickles, straight booze.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the glory days were long gone.
Can I ask you what that moment of clarity looked like? Because once that train's moving, it's hard to stop it.
Yeah.
And usually something has to happen, or usually,
Yeah.
but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you're just doing what you do, and then something changes. And
Right.
what did that look like for you?
That's a good question. Well, it was probably, in my case, it was just a combination of the previous 7 years. And I was coming up on a birthday, a biological birthday. I was turning 30. I was getting ready to turn 31. And it was just a combination of just, having a moment of clarity of, man, what happened? How'd you end up here? And that was the start of my recovery. And I went into a place in Santa Ana called Cooper Fellowship.
How'd you get from the LA into Cooper Fellowship in Santa Ana and OC?
The wine guard gave you bus tickets.
Okay.
Yeah, it gave.
So they looked up a treatment center.
Yeah, that's what they did. It was
Started calling
They
places.
sent you out.
They had different. Matter of fact, they actually they gave me 3 places.
Because they
I don't
didn't
know
give
if
you
you-
much opportunity to not pick one of them, huh? Too many, right?
I didn't even know what I didn't know what they say. We can send you to a program.
Had you ever been in a program before?
Never been in a
Oh, okay. So
program.
you were like, you just
Yeah, but
Hey,
I
go.
do remember the 3 places that they referred me. It was Warm Springs, which is I think 30, 40 miles north of L.A. Warm Springs, Acton,
Okay.
and Cooper
That's-
Fellowship.
Okay.
And anyway, so when they mentioned Warm Springs being one of them being co-ed, and I was like, nah, I don't think that work. And anyway, they came up with Cooper, and they said that was in Orange County, and it was about 35 miles south of LA. And so I went with that. And
Good choice.
it was like you caught.
I've been there
God,
before. I've been over there before.
God
Oh,
did for
a good
me what
place.
I could not do for myself, and went there and met some men who were recovered alcoholics and had been recovered at that time for Bob H had 19 years and Chief had 28 years.
Hmm.
And Chief said, John, he pointed at Bob Husted and said, this guy right here, he's got 19 years sober. He came off Skid Row.
I remember Bob's, both of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I looked and I couldn't even comprehend it. It was just like him telling me that,
Yeah.
hey, this guy right here, he's from Marshall.
Mm.
He's a Martian.
Yeah.
He came to Earth, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I just, looked dumb. Really.
What a
Yeah,
great
yeah, I
guy
believe it.
Bob H.
Yeah,
was.
I mean,
What a great guy that
Oh,
guy
my
was.
goodness.
God.
That is mind-boggling, though.
Yo, really.
It is,
I mean,
yeah.
well, I mean, here's the thing. And I tell people this all the time. I mean, I went in and out of the system for years,
Right.
jails and prison, never heard anything, And I mean, I wasn't done, But so I get it. When I've been working in recovery for the last 30-some years,
Mhm.
and I've seen people come in and out of here for years. We slipped by. We did 19. Oh, okay.
No, we're good.
Anyway, I've seen hundreds, of people come in and out, and a bunch of them are people who I met when they had first showed up at 19, 20, 21, and quite a few of them are still around,
Mhm.
years later. But then I also, on occasion, I'll either hear from or run into someone who I met 20 years ago, and they've not stuck around. They've been,
In and out.
yeah. And so,
So how was it there at Cooper Fellowship? Let's do a few minutes on
sure.
some early recovery, and then you got a lot of story of going into how you opened up treatment centers and helped so many people with, like, I think it was like Action Alliance and some other places. No, no, maybe I got the name wrong. But
Right.
let's just go into the early stuff and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was,
Because Cooper Fellowship's still
Yeah.
around helping people.
yeah, they're kind of been on hiatus, but they've been around for a long time. But like I say, I mean, it's kind of even hard. How can you even put into words how going meeting people and going through a place just change your destiny? And
Absolutely.
the truth of the matter is, kind of like Rich was saying. I mean, like in my case, I had never been sober before. I
Right.
was 31 years old. And that matter of fact, let me just for a second here. One time I was in doing a parole violation in Tehachapi State Prison, and a panel, H&I panel came into the prison, and so I was on my bunk, top bunk, and I heard, they was like, hey, let's go, they're gonna be passing out, cookies and whatever. It's gonna be some chicks there, and okay, I thought,
Cookies
let me
and
go
chicks?
see what's
All right,
going
can
on.
do
Maybe
that.
I can slip one of my bookie number.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And so I went to this panel, and it was two ladies and an old man. Old man probably younger than I am, right now. But anyway, so the women spoke first, didn't hear nothing they said. Then old man, he spoke last. And I didn't hear nothing he said until the end. The last thing he said was, he said, you know something, guys? He said, give me a second here. He said, I didn't get in trouble every time I drank. He said, but every time I got in trouble, I had been drinking.
Mm,
And
that is.
I didn't just hear that. AA is a language of the heart.
Yeah.
And it kind of went, because that was my experience. And, but it didn't keep me sober.
Yeah.
I heard him say that, but I still wasn't done.
But the seed was planted in your heart, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I never, obviously, this was almost 40 years ago.
Never
or whatever.
forgot that. Yeah.
No, I mean, because it was like I said, it's the language of the heart. Only an alcoholic can talk to another alcoholic. But anyway, like I say, so when I got to Cooper Fellowship, I didn't have plans on getting sober. I mean, no, I take that back. I certainly didn't have plans on, I'm gonna get sober and I'll stay sober for the next 35 years. You know what I'm saying? And I'll have a life and so on and so forth. I heard him saying, I mean, but if you never been sober,
It's hard to believe that can be you.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have that experience.
Yeah, exactly.
And the way I saw it, well, not at that time, but the way I see it today, I mean, I was in a different dimension.
Mm.
See, I was in a whole nother dimension. I wasn't in this dimension. I was in a different, and it's like I like to use the analogy of getting sober. It kind of reminds me of an old Twilight Zone episode where it was a in that wall, that brick wall right there was a what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like a
Spiral?
portal. No, it was
Yeah,
a
yeah,
portal.
yeah.
Yeah.
In that brick, yeah, it was like in this. Oh, I've seen this Twilight Zone showing it was it was a regular wall, and the guy was doing like this, and his hand went through the wall, and it was
Yeah.
like a portal. And I kind of look at recovery like that.
Mm. Yeah.
I mean, from where I came from, into this world here, it was kind of like going through a portal.
Yeah.
and coming into it really, I mean,
They say it being rocketed into
you-
the fourth dimension.
yeah,
man.
yeah. I mean, it's like, you're so, I'm not overly surprised, people don't stick around. I mean, addiction, yeah, it's, your mind is on, it's a lot of times you just not there, and so, you know, yeah, I've seen people, when, in the early years when crack first came around, I saw women bringing their children. First they were driving with the kids buying crack. Then it was on the bus. Then they got dropped off on Skid Row with the kids,
Mhm.
and then eventually you saw them, and it was just them. And the kids, I mean, I'm talking about left the kids, and the kids just formed their own band and that went on for years.
So crazy. So how long were you at Cooper Fellowship for?
I was at Cooper for 17 months, 3 weeks, and 4 days.
Damn. You got such a good memory.
Well,
It always
that's,
amazes me.
well, not really, but certain things that stand out.
sticking.
But when I left there, I looked around. I was, trying to find a place that was close to where I went to meetings.
Mhm.
See, because I knew that one thing, I knew that I would be okay as long as I was in a controlled environment.
Right.
Yeah, I knew I could, I didn't ever have a problem when I was incarcerated. It was just, when they gave me the keys back. You know. And
Just
so
don't let me
even-
drive the car.
Exactly. Even though I had been through the 12 steps, I mean, my obsession was gone. My obsession was gone by the time I was 5 months sober.
That's
It's
amazing.
gone. Just wasn't there. Like the book says, it just wasn't there any longer. And but even though, all that, I mean, I was doing a lot, sponsoring guys. I did H&I for about a little over 3 years, maybe about 3.5 years. I had a panel at OCJ for almost 4 years, every fourth Sunday. Yeah. And it never failed. It never failed, fellas, that I would always run into somebody who I knew either from AA or who had been in one of my houses.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
but like I say, I still, once I, it was time to move from Cooper, once I moved out, I still, like I said, I still had a little fear. But anyway, I fortunately found an apartment right across the street from the Garden Grove Alano Club.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
Shout out to the GGAC.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I stayed there for I was in that apartment for about 14 years, if I'm not mistaken. And but yeah, it's where I got the foundation, and yeah, and it's been
We'll get into that, and we'll get into the second phase really quick here. We're gonna go ahead and go to our main sponsor break right here at the middle of the podcast. If anybody needs help, you can just call this number at any time, 24 hours a day. That's His House New Creation. That's a sponsor of this podcast at 877-868-5730. And that number again is 877-868-5730. And you can see that on podcast number 12. You can meet Glenn S. He's the owner of His House New Creation, who's been in service for over 30 years here in Southern California. And we're going to be following up with him also, moving forward with opening up the 71-bed treatment center in Claremont. So he actually took keys to that, and it's under renovation right now. So we're just going to go ahead and take a few minutes for our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to the place where it all began, the 9th Street House. Our maiden journey into hope and recovery for His House New Creation treatment centers since 1994. Right next door, the 9th Street apartment building stands as a testament to our commitment to providing comfortable and safe spaces for recovery And on the other side, nestled amidst nature's best, our Palm House offers a tranquil haven to begin the path to sobriety. You'll find 12 unique His House New Creation treatment centers across Southern California. Just as recovery encompasses inner and outer transformation, our facilities mirror this philosophy. The external beauty of our homes reflect the nurturing and healing environments you'll discover within. These are just glimpses of the harmonious spaces where we support your journey to recovery. Our state-licensed and highly accredited programs echo this sentiment. We know that successful addiction treatment is more than skin deep. It requires a robust plan that heals the mind, strengthens the body, and nourishes the soul. We select the best facility to cater to your unique needs, providing focused, compassionate care that sets you firmly on the path to sobriety and hope. Welcome to His House New Creation Treatment Centers, where the journey to a healthier you begins. Your recovery begins here with us.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for taking a quick listen, and we're going to get right back to the story with Johnnie F here. And where we were just pre-commercial is that he got sober, and then he stayed in Cooper Fellowship, and then he had moved and got himself his first apartment, took in the keys to driving himself in the car correctly this time, hopefully, and then also going from not only being in recovery and doing panels and stuff like that, but to also opening up treatment centers and helping in a new way, right?
Well,
So,
not exactly treatment centers.
okay, but like sober
recovery
livings
homes,
and
yes.
recovery homes and
Sober
stuff
living
like that,
homes.
which is a huge proponent for people getting sober. Myself and a lot of people, there's so many different ways that you can get sober, but the pathway and all the other things that we have available us to it in our community through the program, the 12 steps, sober livings, PHP, residential treatments, and all that stuff is available. And a lot of us, as we well know, we've talked in the podcast many times, some of the best place to actually practice the new you and the 12 steps is in sober living. So let's hear a little bit here about how you opened up some sober livings and stuff like that. And
Well-
some of the trials and tribulations, because there's many of that going through there. So,
Well, I believe I was about maybe 3.5 years sober, and I, I don't know, it just kind of popped in my mind that I think I want to try doing something for others that was done for me, and so I mentioned it to. Anyway, yeah, I saved up. I think I saved about $5,000, and I mentioned it to a guy that I used to sponsor, a good friend of mine.
so this is like 1994 or so. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's 94, right? Mentioned it to my friend Rick Holiday, and he asked me if he said he wanted to get involved in it, and so him and I. We went and found a property and in Garden Grove and opened up the Grace House.
Okay, cool.
And we started off with a men's house, and we did that for 3 years. And it's still several guys today who went through there. Who are sober and living the dream. And my friend, Rick, he relocated to Independence, Missouri.
Oh, okay.
And this was in 97, if I'm not mistaken. And which coincidentally, him and I shouldn't say we reconnected, but a good friend of ours, Dave Walton, R.I.P., passed last year, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, within the past 2 years, Dave Walton passed, and me and my former business partner reconnected at his homegoing. And anyway, so this past June, my old business partner invited me to come. He took our recipe
Mm-hmm.
that him and I started here and took that back to Independence, Missouri.
Oh, okay.
and it was their 25th anniversary.
Oh wow.
Oh, wow.
He's
Yeah.
still in
That's awesome.
business, huh?
Yeah,
Wow, that's
and
amazing.
not only that, but he kind of quadrupled what we had started doing. Yeah, he had a big outfit and in Independence. But yeah, so like I say, him and I started, then he relocated, and then I kind of expanded. And eventually I ended up with 8 houses, and I went from men to women. I had several women houses. Uh, I've done. Then I think I did couples, women and children, families, um, and I did all those probably like I say often, in the span of within over the 20 years. So I've been working with. Women's house has been just as successful as the men's
Mhm.
houses. Um, yes, quite a few women who went through my house back in early 2000, and when I met them, they were like 20ish, and now they're in their 40s, and
Right.
children, adults, and they went back to school, and yeah, and Stober, and run into them all the time.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
So you ran all of those houses. How long was that period of time? You said about for 20 years?
Oh, 20 plus.
Oh,
Probably
wow.
around, I would say, probably close to 28 years. Some in that vicinity from, uh, you see, 20, I take that back. But it was a good 20. Yeah, it was from like 94 uh,
To
to
like 2014,
2016.
2016. Yeah.
2016 was when
That's a long stretch.
yeah, yeah.
Did you ever keep like stats and numbers of all the people that went through there or how many different people you had helped or anything?
The closest,
Whew,
I
I'm
didn't
sure
really
that's a
keep
lot.
stats, but the closest that I got to that was I did a lot of because we would have like annual
Mhm.
Christmas thing,
Right.
New Year's,
Alumni stuff.
right, barbecues during the summer, and I videotaped and took pics, and yeah, I mean my I was recovery is funny because at the time I didn't wasn't really thinking about it, but I mean, yeah, I on occasion, like I said, I run across pictures, and and I got a bunch of videotapes. Yeah, matter of fact, I need to send all these little compact VHSs to that place that turns
Turns it
everything.
into new digital.
Right, right.
and stuff, yeah.
But I even ran across I was telling Rick Holiday, I even ran across some more I got on video of Bob H and Bart separate times
Mhm.
when they came by when we first opened up in '94. And they came by and did groups with the house with the guys. And yeah, I got it on video. And but like I said, just man, I mean,
It's been a constant flow of giving back for you and being in the middle of people's sobriety and recovery and all of that. So have you any questions for him?
Well, I was I was gonna ask. Uh, I mean, because working with addicts early in recovery is challenging, and so when
yeah.
they come in and they're in a sober living environment, and you have 8 houses. What are some things? So, how did you manage them? Did you have like a house manager at each house?
Yeah, house manager and
House
manager.
manager at each, somebody you trusted,
Yeah.
and then did you have like a lot of nights where you got woken up at 3 in the morning with calls like, "Hey, we need some help with so and so," or what do I do? Or was there a lot of that?
Not, I wouldn't necessarily say a lot, but on occasion. One thing about when you, regardless of whether you're in treatment, yeah, I mean, if you have, whatever kind of facility, detox, IOP, sober living homes, whatever the case, you kind of on call 24 hours. I mean, I was, even when I was out of town, when I was back, Michigan, Vegas, or
Hmm.
wherever, your phone is always on
Hmm.
because something's gonna happen, and
For sure.
and I'm talking 20 plus years ago. I'm not, that was. I tell people this all the time. That was, my era was a whole lot different than
In
the
this
era that's
era.
going on now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I work for a company And when I stand up, it's on the back of this hoodie. But I worked for a company that Wavelength a few years. Anyway, they
I've heard of that program.
yeah, they it's, I mean, it happened like that. You talking to a guy one day earlier. I mean, just it was insane. I mean, I remember talking to a guy one time, and we were working together. And anyway, I happened to look up on his dresser, and it was an obituary up there. And I asked him about it, and he said it was another coworker of ours. And I was saying, "Oh man, okay." And then that fella told me, "Yeah, I keep that up there to remind me." Blah blah blah. And then 5 months later, he was gone.
Hmm. And that's the beginning of the opiate epidemic.
Yeah, yeah. I just like yes. But so again, just to answer your question, yeah. I mean, it happened on occasion, but like I said, it's a whole new world today.
Did you have to learn a lot about licensing, as far as like working with the city, or was it different then? Was it a lot more like you just had you get a house, you rent a house, you put people in it, kind of?
For what we were doing, we weren't. It was we weren't. What do you call it? Like medically, it was. We didn't pass meds.
Okay,
out.
yeah.
We just basically.
Housed them.
Yeah. We didn't have. We didn't do any kind of treatment there. Now, since I've been in treatment, since I've been working in treatment, I'm familiar with that business. Now, with that business, you got to get licensed and certification. But at the time, like I say, back in the night, well, particularly what we did, just strictly sober living.
As soon as you start working with insurance, then start getting a lot of legal logistics and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Or getting acclimated or starting to get money from the city for, placement of people on parole. Or probation and stuff like that. That's kind of sometimes where money gets involved in those areas, and you start getting some legalities or some other things involved. If you get some kind of influx like that, did that ever happen with any of your treatment centers?
Not with mine.
Well, not treatment centers, but the sober livings and stuff like that.
Yeah, not with mine. But like I said again, I never got involved with the as far. I mean, I think I was approached about it, doing parolees or probationers, but I passed on it.
I got one other question, and this is like a pretty hot topic, I feel like, in recovery, especially in this area where we got a lot of people that are in recovery themselves, but they work in treatment centers or sober livings and stuff like that. Was it difficult for you to separate you owning sober livings and your own recovery? Right? Like, so what you're doing professionally as a way as a means to make money, yet also help people. Did the lines get blurred between your own program and your professional, the business that you had? Because, they say like people who work in treatment, right? You always hear like, your job is not your program, right? Because you get a lot of people who think it is.
Sure.
And then they end up in my ER.
Yeah.
I see it all the time.
Yeah,
I see it all the time. They're like, yeah, I work in a treatment center. You know what I mean? They're just like in the gurney, for there as a complication of something.
I own two
drug
of
use,
them.
right? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm just curious because I've had my own experience with that working in treatment myself. So
fortunately for myself, that was not the case. I think, and it was only because I would have to attribute it to how I got sober. I got sober, with a sponsor, with going to meetings, with doing, things that were suggested, I'd like to say, H&I, et cetera, et cetera. And so, and then again, by the time I got to working in recovery, I had been sober almost 4 years. And not to mention, I mean, I had a solid foundation.
That's key.
Yeah.
That's key.
I mean, I went to meetings probably every day for at least my first 5 years. And this was even after, I think at one time I was working 2 jobs. I think I had 2 or 3 panels sponsoring guys. And I was still making meetings every day,
Yeah, I see your meetings all the time still.
And then, and like I say, so, even once I started, once we opened houses, I didn't just go to the meetings that we had there. I still went to, to the
Your own meetings.
Yeah, the Alliance. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I mean, and kind of like you just said, I heard I heard this years ago. That working in recovery is not your recovery. I mean,
Right. That's the pitfall that everybody
Sure.
It
gets
is because
told.
because when we like shortcuts. You know what I'm saying? Oh shit, I get to make money and I feel like I'm
Right.
helping people and like,
Yeah.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
well I'm doing it and you're not doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've watched it for years.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when I worked at Waveplane, the place I'm at now, and I see but here's the thing, though. I don't know about, back in the '90s, early 2000s, you had to be clean and sober 2 years before you would, a treatment center would hire you. And then it just seemed like it dropped
Now
down
it's
to
like
1 year.
90 days now.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
just,
you
it's,
can get in there.
I don't even want to say, but sadly though, a lot of these, these kids, they'll, get a job working in recovery, and then they go into the gym. They go, they work in recovery, they go to the gym, and
Oh, that gym program.
yeah,
That gym program.
and it never
Got a
works
lot of
out.
memes on all that stuff.
Yeah, it's sad. It's
Well, I know this is going to be a podcast of also we want to take a good 15 minutes out of what Johnny does and what he's pretty much a lot of known for these days is about comedy and having fun in recovery. Because it's been a lot of seriousness so far in the first 45 minutes of the podcast, as serious as this disease can be, though. But Johnny also does really cool stuff. Johnny's always been a service here is what we're getting into. But if you ever go to a meeting with Johnny and stuff like that or hear him share, you're going to be laughing. So let's get into, because I know you said you were alluding also in Detroit, you were doing some comedy stuff over there. Then things got super not funny here in California, but I've known you've always been able to keep your joviality. Let's do a quick, towards the end here about how you got into comedy and then what you're doing now and then how you've always kept it going, because he does a lot of free shows at all the Alano clubs and then keeps things light and then helps people, make their dreams or whatever, or other people that we've had like Mike G on episode 21, he came on and then you've been helping him work on with his comedy and a lot of other people. So let's take a little dive on that. Sound fair?
sure.
All right. Let's hear a little bit about the comedy here for
Yeah.
about a good 10 minutes.
All right, yeah, comedy, stand-up comedy, my first love.
Mhm.
Yeah, even when things were going, through what they went through. I've always loved comedy, and I mean, it's kind of, matter of fact, sometimes it can be like an addiction, really, really. I mean, in order to get to, depending on where a person is going, but no, I just love comedy, and like I said, I originally started back in, I want to say, early '80s, back in Royal Oak, back in Michigan, and that's why I dipped my toe in, and then I came out here and came out, like I said, to California, and to be honest about it, that was my one of my reasons for coming out. Cool. At least that I told
Oh, yeah.
myself.
Found out in Hollywood. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Boom. Let's go.
I was in addiction then, but not,
You're going
the
to make a
degree.
big come out here to Hollywood, right?
Yeah. And so, yeah, I've just, always loved comedy. Always, because my parents had several businesses growing up, and one of the businesses that they had was a record shop. And
okay.
so
Also, you're like Red Fox and hearing all the great comedy ones
yeah.
on record. And
Yeah, I grew up. I mean,
Yep,
they
me
would
too.
be at work, and I'd be downstairs listening to Red Fox and Slappy White, and
yeah.
I mean, I just love comedy. Milton Berle, just laughter. Just the thing about for me, laughter was kind of like what's that word? Aphrodisiac.
Aphrodisiac. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
Aphrodisiac. Yeah, that's how laughter was.
Aphrodisiac. No.
Okay. That's how comedy was for me. And
Laughter's the best medicine.
yeah. So and I got sober, like I said, I wasn't involved in comedy, but I was still a fan of comedies. And then I believe it was like in 2010. I happened to be at I think I was going to was Serenity Hall. Remember over there on Catella? And,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. Anyway, I happened to be at a meeting, and they had a flyer up, said it was going to be a comedy show that Friday night, and I went, and even though the pilot light, my comedy pilot light, even though it had, kind of dimmed, but it never went out.
Mm-hmm.
It was still lit. And so I think I went to that show, and then a couple of weeks later, it was another show. And the guy that was hosting the show, who happens to be a friend of mine, Richard Wise, he kind of, I think I, talked to him about it, and he kind of encouraged me. And he's in recovery too, by the way. So he put me on the show, and it was kind of like riding a bike. I mean, particularly like I say that man. I mean, I tell people that when you're doing comedy, stand-up comedy, at least for a comedian, for me, the how did I describe this? The audience, like the microphone is like the pipe, and whatever joke you tell, that's like the dope. Let's say we talking crack, whatever joke that you tell is like the dope that you put on the pipe, and then the laughter that you get from the audience is the high. That's the sprung right there. The laughter, and I don't know if you ever smoke, you smoke meth or whatever, crack or whatever. But I mean, when you,
I smoke crack.
Okay, all right. So you already know when you got. I mean, before crack, I remember before crack I was freebasing.
Yep.
And that was before crack. And I mean that was a whole nother story, because a freebasing cocaine that lasted for 3-4 hours. Not like this every 5 minutes, you tweaking, looking around. But anyway, like I say, so, you tell a joke, and if the joke hit, and, half of the audience, or 3/4, whatever, laugh, it's like, that's the high.
And you know what the thing about that is, too, is that's so pure, man.
Yeah.
It's pure.
Yeah.
It's pure.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Pural stuff.
There's nothing wrong with that. No, it's like, it's pure in a spiritual way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
That's awesome.
You don't go to prison for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, Solomon, let's go to that video right there. We'll do a little bit of Johnny emceeing an event.
Y'all good? Corona, y'all good? Next one. Y'all looking at me like this is a black show or something. Black shows, you go to a black show, and as soon as he announced your name, black people start. It's almost like that Denzel movie that he played in when he hit the stopwatch. That's how it is at black comedy shows. As soon as they announce your name, everybody click their watch. Yeah, and you got like 8 seconds. And that first joke better be funny. Yeah, black people serious about comedy. We may not be serious about working, but we serious with 2 or 3 motherfuckers about comedy. I drove around this motherfucker tonight. I'm driving around and stuff, walking up in places and shit. Where's pointing your address out on my phone? You know what this place is? And they looking at me like, I like when people see me for the first time. They always look at me like, they kind of, like I walk in a place and it can be a place like this. And people be drinking and eating and all, and then all of a sudden I walk by and they can, in mid, they're like in mid form, they're just looking at me and I know what they're thinking. They're trying to figure out, is this motherfucker a crackhead or is he a street lawyer? True story. The other day, like CeeLo said, I'm from Orange County. I know when he said Orange County, you weren't expecting to see me. I did. My own wife, she's white. She always looks surprised when I walk in the house. We came up on 15 years married. She's still surprised. Give me this. That shotgun.
Oh, Johnny. Man, that's some good stuff right there. That's a little hint right there where you can see Johnny do some stuff. So you started that back in around 2010, right? So we're working on year 15 of you doing that. I know looking through on your Facebook page and stuff like that of how many different shows did you do in 2024?
You know what? 2024 didn't go like I was hoping. Only because job employment transition. But like I say again, I just was not able to do as many shows as I would have liked. I mean, I had to turn down shows and then I went out hustling, shows. But I'm definitely looking forward to this year. But let me just back up for just a second here.
We got another 5 minutes, so let's go.
Okay,
Yeah.
so my comic friend Richard, that got me back on stage. I knew that I needed stage time in order to get these jokes gelled. I knew I need, and so usually if it's open mic, you only get like 3 to 5 minutes. So, I'm thinking, I'm like, I got to do something, because I need to get on stage. So what I did was, it just happened to be, I had a garage in back of one of my sober living houses, and my manager at the time was living there, and he living there anyway. He moved, and it was empty, and I had just got through watching a video, and I think it's called I Am Comic. It was this DVD, and I was watching this video, and this comedian showed what a comedy room looked like, and the stage was like right where that table is.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, the audience. I'm on the stage, and the audience was right there. Anyway, I ended up. I had some handyman who lived up at the house. Anyway, I had them turn that garage into a comedy room, complete with, complete with a stage and curtains, everything, lights, and so on and so forth. And so, and that's how I got into producing comedy shows. And I did that at that location for 2.5 years.
Wow. That's awesome.
Met a lot of people. As a matter of fact, my friend Richard helped me book my first show in that garage. And cool. We did comedy in that garage, like I said, for 2.5 years. And I kind of transitioned from that garage out into mainstream. And then I think I did a couple of bars. One of them I did for like 6-7 years. Another one I did. I mean,
So you're doing them in for recovery communities and events, and you're doing them out. Okay, cool.
Yeah, recovery and mainstream. Would you have ever thought
when you were on Skid Row that you would ever be doing stand up like in that capacity ever? Would you?
To be honest about it, the dream never went away. You know what I'm saying? Even though, it was clouded. but it never went
I think
away.
the dreams never leave our heart. They just get super suppressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I did Brand Improv for about 3 years. I had like I think I did like first I was doing a monthly show, then like every other month, then a quarterly show. But yeah, I mean I've produced shows at the Ice House. Like I said, I did improvs. I did a Comedy Store. And so now I'm just I do a lot of Lano clubs. Um, whatever churches.
Super nice to see all those people laughing and
Oh, my
everything and
goodness.
early recovery and everything. Well, we're winding down here on episode 24. Where can they reach you at? Or can you just be reached on your Facebook? Or if someone's up and coming or listening to this in recovery and wants to reach out to us on our platforms, I'll be doing a shout out, but do you have any personal area that you might want to be contacted at?
Sure, they can. I can be reached at comedian COMEDIAN Johnnie JOHNNIE Flowers FLOWERS at gmail.com.
Okay.
Or you can look me up on Facebook.
And that's Johnnie with JOHNNIE.
Correct.
Flowers.
Flowers.
Like the flower.
At gmail.com.
Yep.
Yeah. Or
On Facebook too.
Facebook.
You just pull up Johnnie Flowers.
Facebook Johnnie Flowers.
Yeah. Or you can look me up on the former Twitter. Unfortunately, I think it's J space FLO. I don't want to get I'm not wholeheartedly.
You can post it up on your Facebook page. Or
Yeah.
something or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you do you want to reach Johnnie through our platform here? You can do that too, guys. So gonna do a thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
Episode 24.
Thanks for
We'll
having
probably
me.
do some follow-up
been a
stuff. Like
blast.
everybody that comes on this podcast has so much story, experience, strength, and hope. But we're going to wrap this up. We're going to do a shout out here. We can be reached on all platforms here. The video is going to be on YouTube. We're on all platforms, Spotify and everything. And you can reach us at info@supersoberpodcast.org, info@f3recovery.org. We have a website, f3recovery.com. You can be reached there. You can see all of our platforms. Want to give a shout out to the Detox, the script I wrote for a streaming series for recovery, the story of addiction, the deadliest disease that man has ever known. We're doing all types of work in the background here at F3 Recovery. Shout out to the best in the business here, Solomon at the podcast place in Long Beach, California.
Yeah.
You want to go from zero to podcast, this guy's your man right here. You don't have to be fumbling around in the background trying to figure out sound and video and all that stuff. And you just come and see Solomon. He'll make your dreams come true or your vision and help you make all that happen. As you can see, everything's super fluid. Want to give a special shout out to Rich here, jumping back on and doing the co-hosting. Shout out to Notorious JID, the first mascot of recovery right there, jails, institutions, and death. That's what's looking for you. If you've already met him anyways, it's time to get some recovery in your life. It's never been so deadly out there as it is now. And we talked a little bit about it and everything. So most people we know have been exposed to the program, have either been in the program or have had plenty of time to get sober and stuff like that. And you keep on pushing this gift away. Don't do that anymore. Let's all rock it into 2025. We are here. We're going to be doing more podcasts. We're going to be shouting it out. And man, just keep on keeping on.
Thank you for listening to the Super Sober Podcast. Go to our website at f3recovery.org. That's F3Recovery, all one word, .org. We're turning fight, flight, and freeze into free form and flow through practicing the 12 steps and staying accountable to change. Don't forget to keep on keeping on.